watch, and it's going to be an exciting time for Nick here in the future.
Any thoughts on potential next opponents for Nick?
Yeah, you know what, Dave? Like we said earlier, we're not going to announce any opponents, or but I mean, if you could kind of figure out who the next likely guy would be, right? I mean, well, okay, well, you know what? It's I think, yeah. Who do you think, Dave? Tell us who you think.
Woodley.
Mayhem Miller.
I say Woodley. There's Miller, and then also, you know what? Don't forget about Paul Daly.
Daly, of course.
Daly is a guy that just, knocked out Scott. I mean, Scott, that was one of the most beautiful punches I've ever seen thrown. And, some people gave us a little bit of a hard time about this fight, but I tell you, I believed in this fight from the beginning. And I said, look, these two guys are strikers, and they're going to go out to the center of the cage, and they're going to get it on. And that's exactly what happened tonight. So, Nick is a phenomenal fighter. Evangelista is a phenomenal fighter. And they fought their hearts out tonight, and, the better guy won.
I thought it was said in the news that Daly actually already had the title shot, and that because he's taking that other fight, now you're saying it's sort of, there's a risk for that.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is that Daly wanted to stay busy, and it's a long story that we could probably get into later, but it's just a long story. But right now, let's see what happens in this next fight because it could ruin his chance.
Gotcha.
Scott, tonight's card was unique in that you had Herschel Walker, who's never going to fight for a championship in his life, but still a very popular and attractive fighter. Does this open the door for other fighters who are not going to fight for a championship and perhaps are not in the prime of their career but are still of interest to the fans?
You know what? This is every fighter that we bring into our league, we judge it on a individual basis, right? And some people said, well, why didn't you sign Kimbo when he was part of your roster? Well, because we felt that we wanted to head to a different direction. And with Herschel, it really was about his martial arts journey and where he was at and studied. And I told you the story at the press conference, and I'll just say it again real quick for some of you guys that weren't there. When Herschel Walker was a running back at the University of Georgia, he would compete in football on Saturday, and then on Sunday he would compete in a martial arts tournament. So he'd walk through the dorm with his karate uniform and his trophy, and the coaches would say, hey, you know what? You got to stop that karate stuff, that martial arts stuff. And so finally, kept happening, and Herschel ran into the coach gave him an ultimatum, and then he said to the coach, you know what? Then I'm not going to run next week, because I love martial arts, and I'm not going to let you tell me I can't do martial arts. So that was a powerful story to me because, I've been involved in martial arts my whole life, and I know what it means. This is a journey. It's not just a one-stop thing. I can guarantee you he's going to continue training. Herschel Walker's not going to stop training. Whether he fights or not, I mean, that's irrelevant at this point. He's already proven he can do it. So you watch, he's going to continue to train and continue to grow as a martial artist. And so, you know what? We supported him. I'm glad we did. And he's going to be a good ambassador for the sport.
Speaking of ambassadors for the sport, there's Nick Diaz and a lot of other people who've been criticized for being bad representatives of the sport. Is Strikeforce looking to do any reality shows or show the fighters as anything but fighters in their personal life going forward?
I mean, as far as having a syndicated program, we talked about having something going by the end of the second quarter. But as you guys know, these fighters all have a unique character. They're all unique individuals, right? And they all have their own lives and their own stories of how they got here. And not one athlete is going to be the same as another. And Herschel, you're talking about one of the greatest athletes of the century. Not just of the last 20, 30 years, but one of the greatest athletes of the century. I think some people forgot. He was a track star. And in 1980, they were heading to the Olympics, and then they pulled the U.S. team out of the 1980 Olympics because of the politics. So he was going to run in the Olympics that year, Heisman Trophy winner, Olympic bobsled when he was doing the Winter Olympics, and then he does these extreme bike races, 300-mile bike races that are just unbelievable. So, he's continued to test himself and test that indomitable spirit and all to see how much perseverance and to take it to the limit, and that's who he is as a person. So he's going to find MMA is going to be a challenge for him. He's going to continue to grow, I believe it. But this is not the end for his training. I can guarantee you that. Any questions about February 12th, the tournament? You guys want to talk about the brackets or this or all the stuff I've been reading about the last 2 weeks?
You're going to have a venue set for the April night show.
Pardon me?
When will you have a venue for the night?
We'll probably have a venue. Chris, another week? About a week. About another week. But that is going to be the day.
I'm ready when you are.